Hallo und herzlich willkommen zur 5. Folge Tell Me Why zusammen mit Let's Conny.
Hallo,
Kann ich
ist
mich
echt die
jetzt
5.
auf
Folge?
das... Müsste die 5. sein, ja? Kann ich mich reinsetzen? Oh, jetzt muss ich hier in der Kälte stehen. Ey, das sieht aus, als würde es so hart darauf ausrutschen hier. Nice. Heute wird gelesen. Hui!
Yay. Ist das die erste Geschichte?
Oh Gott. Also das ist... Ja, okay, das ist... Previous?
Oh Gott, okay.
Okay, Story Nummer 1.
Hast du nicht erst gelesen?
Wenn du willst.
So gut es geht.
Okay.
Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a big frog in a small pond. She was a peaceful creature who spent most of her time eating, swimming, and sleeping. From the morning to the evening, she did everything these smaller frogs did, except she did it bigger. She ate more, she jumped farther, she was smarter, and she made much more noise. Everybody in the forest could hear her loud croaking, and everybody was happy that they could. You see, it was Casey?
Easy.
Okay. To get lost in the forest, but thanks to the frog's loud noises, you could just as easily find your way back to the pond. Maybe it would not have been the same if the big frog had kept singing during the night. But she was much too lazy an animal to stay active after dark. One day, an unknown visitor came to the forest. For the first time, it was a young woman dressed in a beautiful gown. She was walking fast through the woods, as if she was running away, and she never looked back. Many eyes by the princess passed by, but no one dared to help her, for the mad hunter was on her trail. This is not our business, they said. And we had better look away, for the mad hunter was an
Unyielding.
unyielding, okay, macht Sinn, a man who loved nothing but hunting down prey for money and glory. Nothing could escape his piercing eye for long.
Oh Gott.
So the princess walked alone, without help, until she was hopelessly lost in a big forest. Exhausted, she pressed on with no idea of where she was heading. As the hunter drew ever closer, dodged in his pursuit. She continued this way until she heard a heavy croaking far off to her left, so clear and loud that the princess immediately made for the source of the noise. A few minutes later, she reached the big frog in the small pond, and the frog looked at her with a genial smile. Help me, please. Gentle, okay. Help me, please, said the princess. I need a place to rest and hide. Ribbit, answered the frog. And the princess droned. Please stop making noise. The mad hunter is after me. Ribbit, said the frog again, so loud that the princess had to cover her ears. The creature began to jump every which way.
Das ist grammatikalisch nicht richtig.
Okay, es ist eigentlich von Kindern geschrieben.
Ja.
What are you doing? Asked the princess. Stop all that noise, or he will find us. But the frog kept croaking and jumping around her. Left and right, up and down. Ribbit, ribbit. Nee, steht nicht ribbit.
Doch, Ribbit.
Doch, ribbit, okay. Until the princess understood the meaning of all this fuss. Cautiously, the woman climbed on the back of the big animal, and then, with a leap, the frog set off away from the pond. The frog jumped so high and so far that even the hunter could not find where the princess had gone. With a few jumps, the princess was out of his piercing eye. A few jumps more, and she had vanished for good. The princess closed her eyes and let her clever mount carry her wherever the creature pleased. Less than an hour later, the big frog had reached the other side of the ancient forest. near the shores of the very deep dark LA. Kind of deep dark. There she landed without a noise, in front of a big wooden house that had been abandoned.
Abandoned.
Thank you, said the princess, covering the animal's snout with kisses. I only wish you could speak, so I would have understood what you were trying to do sooner. As she pronounced those words, something incredibly happened. Big Frog was suddenly able to speak.
Oh
The
nein.
first words startled
Ja.
the princess. The mad hunter is always at my heels. Now you're safe, and I've had my revenge. You can stay in this house. It has been abandoned for a long time, and no one will look for you here. And then, without looking back, the big frog jumped back to the pond. And this is how the big frog saved the princess, and how she earned the right to speak.
Alright.
Right?
Alright, habe ich gesagt.
Oh.
Mein Gott. Ich habe einen Frosch im Hals hier gerade.
Einen großen.
So. Oh Gott. Okay.
Ja, immer so zwei Seiten.
Ja. The Bear and the Princess. Once upon a time in the ancient and deep forest, the old bear stood on the bank of the river, swiping its salmon on the way to the spawning grounds. Just as he'd got his paw on a particularly fat one, he heard a woman shouting for help. He considered simply eating his salmon, but then she screamed again, and he lumbered over to investigate. After a short walk, he found the princess clinging to the top of the tree while a wolf snarled and snapped at the base of the tree. Old Bear would normally not get in the middle of such a situation. After all, as a fellow predator, he understood the wolf's need to hunt. When he saw the princess, he was struck by her beauty, and he knew he had to help. With a great roar, the bear heaved onto his hind legs, rising to his full height. The wolf snapped and snarled in his direction, but the bear roared again, and the wolf took off into the tree's tail between his legs. The old bear fell back down onto all fours and stared up at the princess. She regarded him fearfully. "You can calm down," he said. "How do you know you didn't save me just so you could eat me yourself?" asked the princess. "I suppose this is a fair question," admitted the old bear, "but I promise I won't eat you." Was hau den Bären. Oh. The princess had no reason to trust the old bear, except that he had kind eyes, and so she slowly made her way down the tree. When she reached the ground, the bear only watched her, and so she supposed she was not going to be eaten today. "Thank you," she told the old bear. "Of course," he said. "Can I walk with you back to your home?" "Of course," said the princess. And so the princess and the old bear walked together through the forest back to the big wooden house. After that day, the princess would occasionally find gifts from the bear. A fresh caught salmon, a handful of ripe berries, and a newly bloomed bluebell. One spring, when a sudden thaw flooded the path out of the princess' home, the old bear was there, and she rode his back across the river. The old bear began to think that the princess should be his mate. After all, she had no mate, and she needed one. Das ist ein Bär und Mensch, Digga, was geht denn ab? And he could keep her warm and provide her with much more suitable den and catch fish for her, and protect her from wolves. She, in turn, would brush out his fur and pick berries without smooching half of them, scratch that one part of his back he couldn't reach. And without she took care of the goblins, she would be an excellent mother for his cubs. Digga, was passiert denn hier? One day the old bear came with a ring of spruce and asked the princess to be his bride. "I'm sorry," said the princess. "You're a very good friend, and I appreciate all you've done for me, but I cannot marry you. You're a bear, I'm a princess. It would never work." Du bist ein Mensch! Das ist ein Tier! Okay. The old bear was crushed. "Can we still be friends?" he asked. "We will always be friends," said the princess, "but I will never marry you." The old bear and the princess carried on their friendship, and after 1 year he tried again to ask her to be his bride, but once again she refused him. This happened 1 year later, and 1 year after that, and then finally the princess said, "Old bear, you are my dear friend and I appreciate all you've done for me. But I would sooner you have left me to the wolves than marry you. And that is how it will always be. I have my hands full with the 2 goblins who lived under my house, and they are all I need." That wounded the old bear deeply, but it was finally enough to stop his proposals. They remained friends, and he continued to give her gifts of fresh salmon and ripe berries and newly bloomed blueberries. But the old bear never again asked the princess to be his bride, much as he might have wanted to. And that is how the princess befriended the old bear and how she refused him.
Schön. Ja, wie war es? Eine Viertelstunde sind wir hier durch?
Wir sind jetzt gerade mal bei 10 Minuten.
Ja, und dann 2 Geschichten.
Ich dachte, die sind ein bisschen kürzer.
Once upon a time in an ancient deep
Der
forest.
Titel, hallo.
Also die Beaver.
Jetzt ist es geil, weil ich kann es selbst nicht mal lesen. The Beaver? Ist das? In the House?
Once upon a time, in an ancient deep forest, there lived a wise princess in a big wooden house. One might particularly violent storm shook the house. It shook the shingles on the roof and the planks in the walls. It even shook the beams on which the house stood, blowing the whole thing near to the ground. The princess hid in a closet, fearing the house would come down on her as she slept in the morning. In the morning, the house was still standing, but it was badly damaged. The storm had blown shingles off the roof and the planks off the walls, and even bent a post on which the house stood. The first 2 things she could fix, but the last concerned her. What will I do? Whispered the wise princess, though she knew many things, she did not know how to fix the big wooden house. Just then, the old bear came by to see if the princess had any trouble in the storm. When he found her nailing planks back into place, he said, "Stop, princess. Let me do that for you." "I'm happy to do it," said the princess. "But if you want to help with the roof, you may." When the pair were done with the roof, the walls, they examined the bent support post. "I could throw my body against it," said the old bear. "I'm very large."
Stretched.
Yes?
He stretched
up onto his hind?
Yep.
Onto his hind legs, being sure the princess could appreciate how very large he was. Then charged straight at the post. He threw his body against it with an impressive thud. The impact moved the post, but not far, and it
ended up
bent the other direction. The wise princess decided more precision was needed. She thought
Das ist sogar im Game scheiße zu lesen schon ein bisschen.
She thought then of the very old beaver who kept an excellent crafted dam. Perhaps she can help. She went looking for the very old beaver and found the industrious animal hard at work slapping down mud on a part of her dam.
That
had been blown apart in the storm. Most of the structure was harmed because the beaver was very good at building things. The princess knew she had come to the right place. "Beaver," she said, "my house was damaged in a storm. Would you help me fix it?" "I believe I could do that, yes," said the wary old beaver, and she paused at fixing her own
Denn?
to follow the princess.
Warte mal. Ist das? Du brauchst ja gerade keinen Sound. Ob es das besser macht zu lesen, wenn... Ach, cool.
Nein.
Nicht besser?
Nee.
Damn.
Nee, es liegt da an Discord an der Übertragungsqualität.
Ah, dafür brauche ich Discord Nitro.
Ja, nee.
Okay.
The very old beaver examined the big wooden house and nodded. "It will be an easy fix," she said. She set about writing the post with loud slaps of her tail. When she was done, the wise princess stroked the beaver's head. Also, okay. I got choked. Thank you, beaver. Thank you, beaver. The wind blew the shingles off the roof and the planks of the wall, and even bent this post. "Now, thanks to you, I still have a home." Think nothing of it," said the wary old beaver, who returned to work on her own. Then once again. Oh God. That winter, the wary old beaver grew ill, very ill. She was not able to fix her den, nor to gather food. When the princess found out, she set about delivering meals to the beaver. She brought stews of corn and beans and baskets full of bark and twigs from the beaver's favorite
Aspen.
One day, the wise princess noticed that the beaver's den had begun to fall apart. She set about fixing it and thought she was not as talented as the wary old beaver. The fix kept the creature warm and dry. "Thank you," said the wary old beaver. "Of course," said the princess. "You helped me when the storm blew my house near to the ground. Thanks to you, I still have a home, and I am happy to do the same." The princess continued to nurse the old beaver until the day she came to the dam, and the forest
Was still.
still. No birds sang, no branches rustled, no small things skittered within the underbrush. "Oh," said the princess, staring sadly at them, for she knew the old beaver had passed on. "Goodbye, my friend." And that is how the very old beaver saved the big wooden house, how the wise princess repaid her kindness.
Alright.
Der
Ah,
Princess
der
Party.
Princess Party.
Boah, das ist der Frosch von der ersten
Yeah.
Oder aus irgendeinem Grund ein Biber.
So, the Princess Party. Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, the princess was melancholy. Melancholy? Because it was the 1-year anniversary of when she had run away from home. Sensing her sadness, her forest friends showed up at her door. They were headed by the pelican, pious and attentive, and organized by the moose, stalwart and farsighted. The old bear was there with his claws so sharp, as well as the big frog, prattling away. Even the haughty muskrat, who almost never had time for anyone, had come. The bear invited her to ride on his back, promising no wolf would harry her path, and then the animals led her to a fairy glen. A fabulous party had been prepared. There was a buffet of seafood the pelican had served from her never-emptying beak. The air was filled with winking fairy lights the moose had arranged after clouds filled the sky, and the gratuitous frog mixed up hissing drinks. Only the muskrat had done nothing in particular, mooching off everyone his hard work. The princess had a very good time at her party, such a good time that she forgot to say thank you to any of her friends. Ich werde angerufen, warte mal. Such good time that she forgot to say thank you to any of her friends. Noticing this, the fairy devised a bit of mischief. When the princess went to open her gifts, she found 3 identical boxes at the edge of the glen. Puzzled, she turned back and gasped. The entire party had vanished. Because you have taken your friends for granted, called the naughty fairies. We have hidden them from you, but we like games. Guess who has given you each of these presents and you'll get your friends back. The princess opened the first box. Inside there was a torch, which when lit revealed the truth. Said the princess. Someone wants to make sure I don't get lost in the woods when it's dark, that I always see right from wrong. Which of my friends would give me a gift like that? She opened the second box. Inside there was a magic sword which would leap right out of the bearer's hands to defeat them. Said the princess. Someone wants to make sure I'm protected if I'm ever under threat. Which of my friends would give me a gift like that? She opened the third box. Inside there was a bag of coins that always provided money if it was for something the bearer truly needed. Said the princess. Someone wants to make sure I have money to buy food when I'm hungry and clothes when I'm cold. Which of my friends would give me a gift like that? The princess thought about her friends and then she smiled certainly. Fairies, she said, I may have been thoughtless, but appreciate all that my friends have given to me and all that they have done for me. She gave her answers, and the vexed fairies were forced to restore the party in a flash of colorful light. One by one, she gave the animals a hug and thanked them for their presence, the party, and all they had done to help since she moved into the forest. And that is how the princess celebrated her first anniversary in the woods. Damn, das wird anstrengend zu lesen. So, in der Folge gibt es doch noch eine weitere Story, die wir lesen, aber jetzt, das machen wir nach einem kurzen Cut. Bis gleich.
Tschüss.
So, da sind wir wieder. Nach einem kurzen Cut. Und
Hallo.
einer neuen Geschichte. Hallo.
Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, the crafty goblins were playing near the glacier when they discovered a hole in the ice. They crept through a gradually widening passage and found themselves inside a spacious ice cave. Light spilled down the... Nee.
Oh. Ich habe mich doppelt.
Was?
Ich habe mich doppelt. Bei dir.
Ich habe überhaupt nichts umgestellt.
Hä? Strange. Jetzt nicht mehr. Okay. Boah, Digga. Okay, ja.
Ich war auch gerade nicht da.
Achso.
Also ich jetzt immer noch doppelt?
Nee, jetzt nicht mehr. Okay, komisch.
Ich weiß immer noch nicht, was das für ein Wort ist.
Light spilled down the undulating blue-white walls.
Gott, leg mich am Arsch. In a way that made them look like electric waterfalls, and a column made up of hundreds of
Icicles
stood in the center. This was a time before the goblins had settled beneath the old wooden house, and they had now nowhere to live. Perhaps we could live here, they said excitedly. Moments later, the sound of stomping feet interrupted their play, and they realized that perhaps someone already lived here. They hid behind a boulder to wait and see who was coming. The old bear
Sauntered.
sauntered into the cave, shaking powdery snow from his coat. He let out a giant yawn and lay down in the corner on a pile of tree oaks,
Yeah.
snoring within seconds. When they were sure he was deep asleep, the goblin conspired to claim the cave for themselves. They chipped away at the glacier until they had filled a basket full of ice, then hid one more behind the boulder and started tossing chunks of it on the sleeping bear. Now, Old Bear was not the smartest creature in the forest, so when he woke up, covered in ice, he roared, "My cave is collapsing!" Then he
Lumbered. Yeah.
lumbered to his feet and ran outside before the whole thing could come down on top of him. The goblins crept out crept out after him and did a loop before coming back to find him sitting outside. "What happened?" they asked. "My cave, it's collapsing," moaned the old bear. "And it's time for me to
Hibernate?
okay. Where will I stay for the winter?" It had not occurred to the goblins that the old bear had settled.
Settled.
Sieht bei mir einfach aus wie SEU. Settled in for the winter, and they felt a
little bad.
Little bad, but they did not
Want
the old bear to know what they had done.
So instead,
mein Gott, Alter. So instead, they offered to help him find a new. Then, together they searched. They inspected cave mounds, stone, and hollowed trees and deeply pocketed knolls. Nothing they found was as beautiful as the ice cave, but the old bear settled on a packed cavern.
On a packed ear? Ear then. Okay.
Yeah, then. Okay. Hollow, what would keep him warm and
dry
for his long sleep. "Good night," he yawned, and the goblins gleefully returned to their new home. In the spring, the old bear woke. The old bear woke and went for a nice long walk to stretch his legs. His path took him right up to his old cave, where he had heard the curious sound of laughter. Making his way inside, he was surprised to find that his cave was intact, and the goblins were inside playing a game. "What is this?" growled the old bear. The goblins stopped playing and looked ashamed. "We're sorry, old bear," said the goblins, "but we had nowhere to live, and it's just so beautiful. We didn't realize you were about to hibernate, and then we couldn't bear to tell you what we'd done." The old bear was angry at the trick, but the young goblins looked appropriately ashamed. And so he said, "Come with me." He led the crafty goblins to the hollow in which he had hibernated for the winter. "You two can have this spot," he said. And look, someone had built a big wooden house right over top it. "No one lives here now," said Old Bear, "but one day maybe someone will." The earthen hollow was not as beautiful as the ice cave, but it kept the goblins warm and dry. And they were excited that someday they might have someone living overhead, someone who
Baked.
baked cakes and tolerated their mischief. And that is the story of how the crafty goblins tried to steal the cave of the bear and how they got their own instead.
Perfekt, jetzt muss ich mal bloß warte mal, Previous.
Ja.
Ich muss kurz lesen. Ach so, okay, alles gut. Ich habe bloß verlesen. Gut, dann haben wir 5 von 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 Storys. Ich glaube, das werden. Ich glaube, das werden 4 Folgen. Ja, lasst auf jeden Fall ein Like und ein Abo, dann wird's. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Ja, lasst ein Like und ein Abo, wenn es euch gefallen hat. Schaut auch beim nächsten Mal vorbei und tschüss.
Tschüss.